Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video, I wanted to talk about the natal aspect Saturn conjunct Neptune, which is a more rare aspect, doesn't occur that often. It is actually occurring right now in the sky, so the babies being born right now and in the next year-ish are gonna have this as well. So this is kind of you could even watch this video and feel into the current transits of right now, and you're gonna get this vibe too. And then before that, the last time that this occurred was in 1989. And so there's people from like 1988, 1989, 1990 who have this conjunction. Some of them have the triple conjunction as well with Saturn conjunct Uranus, which I've just done a video on that. And then before that, I believe it was like the 1950s-ish that this conjunction occurred. So there's many celebrities who have this as well, that are born around then. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about this conjunction and its effects. I have many very close, dear friends who were born in the 1989 conjunction. And there's a very, like, hard to reach almost quality with these people. They're very like out of this world, and they can definitely feel out of place in the world. They can struggle to really ground because we have Saturn, which is like, our life lessons and our even like a part of our masculine, our father energy. It could even represent the father, being conjunct with Neptune, which dissolves boundaries and creates this like elusive, sometimes confused, very deep connection with oneness and spirituality and soul. So it can be hard to ground into the physical as far as like a 9 to 5 job goes. And you can see many of these people struggling with that. And they can sometimes do it, but it also can show that, like, for some of them, it's extremely difficult to like conform to a routine. And there can often be like they get onto some sort of routine or some goal, and then it's hard to stick with that. And what it comes down to is this like sense of like, well, it's all meaningless. Like sometimes they can have this belief of like, it's all meaningless, nothing matters. And that actually can extend to like financial things as well. They can be some of the least materialistic people you've ever known. Now, that's not always the case. It depends on what's stronger, Saturn or Neptune, because some of them you'll also see the opposite, that they're, quite into like materialistic kind of spirituality and manifestation. And, that's even an energy of Saturn conjunct Neptune too, is like making the mundane spiritual, the very 3D physical things of, finances or whatever, and spiritualizing that. And so that can actually be one of the gifts that they have. So in some cases you'll see that, but in other cases you'll see people who do not care about money at all, just, maybe not even caring about the basic necessities of life. Sometimes you could see this going very far and being like, kind of like the monk, renouncing everything, not caring about any of the 3D things. Now, that can be a form of escapism as well. But yeah, there's definitely something very out of this world. It's like they didn't take on from their early upbringing that care about fitting into society, or like being a grounded person. Like they have to develop that themselves. It's not instilled in them from their upbringing to like be practical. So the father or the early life could have been somehow Neptunian. You could see this in someone who's raised by like musicians, or people who, like kind of what's the energy I'm thinking of, like, yeah, like even hippie energy, or like people that were very spiritual or very religious. Or it could also be that the parents or the father was like an addict or an alcoholic, or there was something hard to reach about his energy, where he did not, and maybe this wasn't even, he wasn't meaning to not, but he didn't instill that like grounded masculine energy. So the person has had to figure this out for themselves, like who they want to be in this world, because they did not take that on from the lineage, from the early life, or from the father. The father could have been absent as well. Neptune dissolves boundaries, right? He could have actually been physically not present, or if he was present, there was something unreachable about him. Maybe they were able to access him in sort of like a worshiping way of like looking up to him, but never fully being able to grasp him or have closeness with him on an emotional level, or on like a security level, like that feeling of like security and knowing that your parents, your family, like are there for you. It's like they were somehow robbed of that feeling. So they go about in this world and have to create this for themselves. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So we're seeing someone who did not take on the beliefs, did not take on the energy of the early upbringing, and they're kind of like this blank slate of like openness. So the environment, the people, the energies that they choose to surround themselves with are crucial, because they are kind of like this blank slate, right? They could be anything or do nothing. They might be tempted to do absolutely nothing, but a lot will be determined by, their choices and who they choose to surround themselves with and the energies they choose to surround themselves with. They're very susceptible, even though they may not realize that. So they're very susceptible to the energies in their environment. Like if they're surrounded by a bunch of corporate business people, they could take that on and do that. And they can do anything. They can be like that if they choose. Or if they're surrounded by the addicts, they could be that too. So, and they don't see one as being better than the other. That's the thing. There's no judgment in these people. They are like an open book. And, they'll look at you like with like puppy dog eyes, like, they're just open to what you have to say. And they do often become spiritual seekers, because they're trying to gain that sense of concrete perspective and structure that they did not have. So these people can be some of the most profound spiritual teachers, because they don't have, like, they're not taking on anything from their upbringing. They're just like, whatever they choose to dive into is really, yeah, what am I saying? We're under the influence of this conjunction right now, so everything is like a little bit hard to put words to. But yeah, so you end up with people that do not follow the norm, that have their own personal spiritual connection if they choose to. They definitely, yeah, they can have their own very personal spiritual connection. And you can see someone who does life in a way that is very unique, and it's not like they're not following the laid out path for them. They have a very unique way of doing things, and if they try to follow the path that was laid out for them, they might try to conform. It leaves them with that hole inside them. They do not feel fulfillment in that. And so it really is a spiritual path. It is a path of connecting with God, connecting with spirit, connecting with something higher. There can be great artistic ability. They're very commonly extremely creative and artistic, and able to like channel the art, whether it's music or art. It's not coming from them. They're like an open channel, and they can come up with some of the most beautiful works of art that you've ever seen. And then they can actually become quite financially prosperous from their art or from their spiritual downloads and missions. Like, it's because Saturn is with Neptune, one of the manifestations is actually turning the spiritual path or the artistic path into something very grounded. So, I think about all of like the spiritual business coaches, or like I said, the money manifestation people or whatever. That's a way for them to make that spiritual energy, these manifestation teachings, and some of it is potentially not in fact totally pure or true, but in many cases, these people with this conjunction are actually channeling higher energies in order to make this day to day world, this 3D world, more manageable and more, what's the right word? More doable for us who identify as healers and light workers and star seeds. It's like the people with this conjunction are able to bridge those two worlds. And, no longer do we have to be the starving artist or the broke healer, right? These are the people that are leading the way and paving the pathway to being financially prosperous and grounded in this world, but not of it, right? So that's one of the higher manifestations of this. And then, of course, tying that into the art, this can actually be a profession. And, they might feel so unfulfilled and so ungrounded when they're trying to conform to a more normal existence. But when they bring their creative gifts in and they bring their spiritual gifts into this work that they're here to do, that's when they're really going to have it click and be like, oh, this is what I'm here to do. And actually, maybe this is the only thing that I can actually do. And some of them might feel like that. It can be hard to keep up with the daily life without some sort of spiritual practice to transcend it. So it's like, yeah, in this world, but not of it energy. So it's really quite profound. And I think, right now in the transits, I mean, we're having the conjunction happen in Aries. Saturn's still going to retrograde back into Pisces for a bit. But it does really seem like a lot of people right now, like with this energy, are going to be like striking out on a new path, right? Like they're going to leave their jobs or leave their relationships that are no longer serving them and really coming into like truth and higher integration of like soul in the physical body, which is going to be like, a lot more people doing something creative or expressing their gifts, expressing their soul, and in a very like primal, authentic way, with it being in Aries, and then also with it going back into Pisces, the spirit, the soul, the ultimate wisdom attained after so many lifetimes being birthed into the physical, because Saturn will not let you keep it up in your mind and without putting it into concrete reality, like that structure, right? Putting it out into the world, letting people see it, letting society see your art, see your creativity, right? And that's the same message for people with this conjunction in the natal chart, is like Saturn won't let you keep that all inside. You're meant to share it with the world, and be the light, be, a living expression of God or creator in a physical body. So it's not an easy task, and people with this conjunction can definitely go from one job to another and one place of living to another, and never quite feeling grounded, like they've found it, right? What is it, right? And so they can feel like they're constantly the seekers, right? They're seeking something. And sometimes they get down some bad pathways that end up harming them, right? Because they're susceptible, they're looking, they're searching for God and everything, when it was always within them and just waiting to be expressed into the world. So yeah, grounding is important. going out, putting your feet onto the earth and like grounding into Mother Earth's energy, having a meditation practice, doing that before you allow other people's energies to infiltrate you, right? You have to be a little bit extra with your self care, with your spiritual practice when you have this conjunction, because you can have a tendency, like I said, to get swept up into other people's negative energy. And it's especially crucial for you to recognize that you are an intensely sensitive being energetically, and you function differently. You're not of this world. You have to kind of develop your own unique practice for grounding in this world, for stability, for structure, because you weren't given that. So you have to create it for yourself. But when you do, you are capable of miracles. You are capable of magic. More than most people, magic and miracles are your norm because you bring the non-physical into the physical. You are the channel, you are the messenger, you are the conduit for these higher spiritual energies that are blessing the planet. You are a blessing, and you are perfect as you are to carry out this unique mission that you were given. So, yeah, I have a lot of clients who have this conjunction. It's very common to be seeking some answers and to be studying astrology or spirituality to try to find, like, what it is, because it can be so ethereal and so hard to figure out, what your purpose is when you have this conjunction. But it's not going to be up to me to tell you what it is. This is something very personal. I can help guide you for sure. That's one of the readings I offer, soul purpose readings. But ultimately, like, you are the knower, you are the seer, you are the one. I'm only going to activate your remembrance of how wise and powerful you are and how spiritually gifted you are. So, yeah, I'd love to know your experience of this conjunction. If you have it in your natal chart, I'd love to know how it's been for you. And I love you guys. Some of my best friends have this conjunction, and I just think you are some of the most brilliant people that have ever walked this earth. And I believe a lot more of them are being born right now with this conjunction happening in the sky right now as well. So, yeah, love you guys. Thank you for the requests. Keep those requests coming, and we'll talk soon. Bye.